I always did want to find my mother. Always. No matter what I'd done, I always wanted to find my mother, or I always wanted to know if I had a mother out there.
What was the final snap that made you just do it?
The final snap was I just couldn't take it anymore. As I said, when Anderson was away in 1950, I was getting strong and cheeky and defiant and rebelling, but a lot of the time I wasn't in school. I was sent down to the yard to work, from just after I was 11 until I was about 13 and a half. I was sent down to the yard to work, but I was just sick of what Anderson was doing to me, and I was just sick of a Sumter whacking me all the time to go there, and I was just openly defiant, So when she come out and told me that I was, Owen, you want it down at the presbytery? I refused to go. She went back towards the blackboard, and when she looked around, she still seen me there. She said, Owen, what did I tell you? You want it down at the presbytery, go immediately. I wasn't going to go. It made me mind up. I'd had enough. I wasn't going to go, So all the kids had looked at me, and something was getting wild. You could see the red coming in her face. I knew what she was going to do, but I also had made up my mind what I was going to do. If you hit me, then I'm going to hit you back, And anyway, I said to the kid alongside me, she hits me, I'm going to hit her back. Well, you wouldn't even know, would you? I said, my word, I would. I said, I've had enough of it. So anyway, she come down with this cane. I said, now Owen, you want it at the presbytery. You go now, or you'll get the cuts. I said, I'm not going, sister. I was used to pain. I was used to the cane. I was used to being whacked, So anyway, she said, put out your hand, Owen. So I put out my hand. Got the whack there. Put out the other hand. Got the whack there. All the kids are looking. Put your other hand down. When she come down with the cane, I grabbed it like that. Then she went to tug it out, and she couldn't pull it out. So anyway, she tugged, I tugged, she tugged, I tugged. She tugged again, I went bang. So the cane ended up in my hand. And when she come towards me, I started whacking her. I started whacking her around the habit. Well, she wouldn't have felt it because, but then she backed off me.
I bet the kids were
and all the kids were, hey, get on, hey, you children be quiet, Well, Anyway, she went outside. And anyway, when she went outside, all the kids were, hey, get on, it's about time, and one thing, I was a hero, And anyway, lo and behold, she come back, and who was with her was this Murphy. And anyway, and there was two yardmen, what you call yardmen, they were kids about 16, 17 year old, And anyway, when I went to run out the door, they grabbed me. So then all the school was made stand up on their forms and on their desks to watch Murphy give me a flogging. So they stripped me of my clothes and put me over the desk. One yardman had me by one arm, the other yardman had me by the other arm, and he just flogged me until I went semi-conscious, Even when I was in an institution, I was told I had no mother. But when I did find my mother, you know, I was more frightened to go down to meet her than what it was by running onto a football field or going into a boxing ring. But when I found her, you know, I was what you call petrified. But when she put her arms around me, and I put my arms around her, we both had a cry. You know, it was just so joyful to think that I did have a mother. You know, it was just so pleasing, but I also dwelled on, you know, how I missed out on a life. You know, they could have told me I had a mother when I was 5 or 6 at the orphanage. They could have told me when I was 10, when I was 14, when I was 18, even when I finished with the state at 18. Get away from them. And the only way I'll be healed, if there's ever such a thing as healing, you know, is to get away from them. I don't want to keep reminding me, oh, we're paying for so much counselling, or we're paying for this, or we're paying for that. I want to get away from it. I don't want to get a letter to say, oh, we're going to have a function, a get-together, and a Christmas get-together for all abused kids. You know, I don't want to go there and start comparing my story against the other, and then someone else trying to come up with a better story or something like that. I said, that's what they do at these sort of gatherings. I said, I don't want any part of that. I just want my day in court. Okay, if I win, I win. If I don't, I'll be happy, and I'll turn around and I will say, hey, at least I had my day in court. You know, or even when I was 21. But no, they didn't. I wasted a whole life, you know, not knowing I had a mother. I'm lucky than a lot of children. I did find my mother, you know, and what a joy it was, you know. I remember something when I was about I'd say when I got my first flogging from her, when I reported what Anderson was doing to me. You know, I remember something from then. She used to teach the higher class kids like 6th grade or 5th grade, 6th grade, but she used to also relieve in the dormitories when the other nun used to go to prayers or go down for recreation with the other nun. When I went back and reported it to, I think the nun was Ansel, after my first abuse with Anderson, she flogged me that daytime because I told her what had happened to me when I went out to say the outlying mass, and that was in the daytime. I got a flogging from her, and that night, well, she must have told other nuns what I had told her, and of course Assumpta and Ansel and another nun come up to the dormitory and pull my pyjamas down and flog me to an inch of my life that night. I'd be laying in bed, Jody, and it just didn't only happen to me. Any boy that they couldn't catch up with that day, or cheeking the nuns or defying the nuns, open defiance as they called it, and one thing and another, well, they would be caught up with when they were laying in bed that night. It could be after 9 o'clock. See, the nun would go, all right, children, good night and God bless you. Good night, sister, and God bless you. Well, you'd think they were all gone. Well, of course, you'd cuddle up in your bed and try and go to sleep. The next minute, there's 3 on top of you. Don't you think that my grandfather has got a right to change his mind? He was the one that signed the documents for me, but he was my grandfather. Don't you think my grandmother had a right to turn around and wanted to rear me? She was deprived of that right. Why? Because the policeman was my father. As the people at Kidston said, and Grandma told me, there was a lot of people in Kidston that wanted to adopt me, but the only reason they would not adopt me was because talk and the rumour got around that my father was the local constable. We were getting on, I was getting on, I suppose I'd be 13, 3 months or something like that. And anyway, in the recreation room they had 2 baths and 4 showers. So anyway, this day, this Assumpta come in, and she was, you know, a vicious nun, a terrible nun, a sadist, you know. Anyway, in the bath there was this fella called Wolfschlager. Anyway, she come to Wolfschlager, and Wolfschlager was sitting down in the bath, and she said, "Wolfschlager, stand up." So of course Wolfschlager stood up. "You filthy wretched thing. You filthy animal. Look at you, you filthy thing. Sit down at once, you filthy thing." So next she come to a fella called O'Neill. "Normie O'Neill, stand up." Now O'Neill stood up, because he was about 14-year-old, so was Wolfschlager. O'Neill stood up. "You filthy wretched animal, you filthy thing. You're as bad as Wolfschlager. Sit down at once, you filthy animal." Next thing she come to the showers. "Normie John, turn round." Normie John turned round. "Oh yes. Go on John, get on with your shower. Go on, hurry up." Come to the next one. Alan Pill, turn round. He too, Pill turned round. "What's wrong with you boys, you filthy thing? Turn round at once, I don't want to look at that sort of filthy, wretched thing." So then, I was in the next shower. She come to me and she said, "Dave Owen, turn round." So I'm standing there and I'm holding my hands down here. I looked around and I said, "I'm not turning round." She said, Owen, turn round at once." I said, "I told you sister, I'm not turning round. I refuse to turn round. You're committing mortal sin looking at us." So she stamped her foot. "Owen, I'm asking you for the last time. Turn round, Owen." Looked over my shoulder. I said, "I'm going to report you to Father Anderson. I'm going to tell Father Anderson what you're doing. Looking at us in the shower. How filthy, how filthy you are, sister, looking at us in the shower." Anyway, I said, "What are you looking at us for?" She said, "Well, Owen, to be honest, I'm looking to see who's been shaven." They thought we were shaving down below our belly button to grow hair, around our, and I'm like, oh, what a, this, it might be laughable now, but it wasn't laughable there because you were sort of in a Christian environment and you wouldn't think of none would be wanting to be looking at 14 and 13-year-old boys, whether it'd give them a boost in their sexuality or not, God only knows. I wasn't going to ask her that because I wouldn't know what it meant, but I wouldn't turn round straight away. I put my hands down round where my doodle was, and I wasn't going to let her have a look at my doodle, My poor grandma got locked up one weekend when she went down to Constable 3322 and slapped him in the face. She actually slapped him in the face and said, "Why don't you come forward and own up that you're the father of my daughter's baby?" And he accused her, my grandmother, of carting rumours around the town that he was the father. Anyway, my grandmother at that time was very wild up and one thing another, and slapped him in the face, and she got locked up for that weekend. And Grandma said that she didn't mind being locked up because she let him know, plus everyone else that was in earshot of her, know that he was the father. But it was just denial, denial, denial. Well, I think I told you the story about how I was getting sick and tired of being flogged, and when the three come in to flog me one day, well, they had 48 beds in the dormitory. They had 12, the passageway had 12 and 12. Well, anyway, when the three come in to flog me, I'd seen them coming and I knew what they were going to do. Well, just as they got to the end of my bed, I dived under the bed. So I started going under the beds and they were chasing me. And anyway, all the kids were up in, sitting up in their bed, go Porky, go Dave, go Dave. Well, that side, this side, that side, they'd just about have me, and I'd pull out of their grip and there he goes, you know. Well, none had been down and look under the bed. Well, I'd be holding myself up on the springs. And I can't see him. I don't know where he's gone. You know, he might be over your side. Well, they'd be looking over their side, and I'd be holding myself up, you know, on the spring of another bed. You get what I mean, under the bed. But because they could see a gap, well, anyway, one of the pimps said, "Oh, he's under my bed, sister." Well, they'd come, well, just as I had the whole dormitory laughing, you know, the chase was on. Well, lo and behold, I was just about to run out the bloody door, and they bloody caught me. Well, of course, I copped the flog at hospital, called Mrs. Ganane, and that nurse, which had contacted me years later, turned around and told me how she was at the birth of me.
That's you and that's me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And David.
Yeah, she's holding me. A little bundle of joy.
You can see that he's bigger than the others. The others are only 10 days old, and we do for 4.5 months.
months.
And they were shocked. The secretary, you know, what are you doing wearing a baby?
Who would have thought I'd be sitting here today with Mrs. Ganane?
What was the final snap that made you just do it?
The final snap was I just couldn't take it anymore. As I said, when Anderson was away in 1950, I was getting strong and cheeky and defiant and rebelling, but a lot of the time I wasn't in school. I was sent down to the yard to work, from just after I was 11 until I was about 13 and a half. I was sent down to the yard to work, but I was just sick of what Anderson was doing to me, and I was just sick of a Sumpter whacking me all the time to go there, and I was just openly defiant, So when she come out and told me that I was, "Owen, you want it down at the presbytery," I refused to go. She went back towards the blackboard, and when she looked around, she still seen me there. She said, Owen, what did I tell you? You want it down at the presbytery. Go immediately." I wasn't going to go. I'd made my mind up. I'd had enough. I wasn't going to go, So all the kids have looked at me, Something was getting wild. You could see the red coming in her face. I knew what she was going to do, but I also had made up my mind what I was going to do. If you hit me, then I'm going to hit you back, you know. And anyway, I said to the kid alongside me, she hits me, I'm going to hit her back. Oh, you wouldn't hit her none, would you? I said, my word, I would. I said, I've had enough of her. I've had enough of her. So anyway, she come down with this cane. I said, now Owen, you want it at the presbytery. You go now, or you'll get the cuts. I said, I'm not going, sister. I was used to pain. I was used to the cane. I was used to being whacked, you know. So anyway, she said, put out your hand, Owen. I put out my hand. Got the whack there. Put out the other hand. Got the whack there. All the kids are looking. Put your other hand out. When she come down with the cane, I grabbed it like that. Then she went to tug it out and she couldn't pull it out. So anyway, she tugged, I tugged, she tugged, I tugged. We tugged again, open, bang. So the cane ended up in my hand. Then when she come towards me, I started whacking her. I started whacking her around the habit. Well, she wouldn't have felt it because, you know, but then she backed off me.
I bet the kids were just...
And all the kids were, hey, get on, you know, hey, you children be quiet, you know. Well, you know. Anyway, she went outside. And anyway, when she went outside, all the kids, you know, hey, good on you, you know, it's about time, you know, what they, you know, I was a hero, you know. And anyway, lo and behold, she come back, and who was with her was this Murphy. Mine, if Mackenzie's couldn't have me, because they were only living together for 4 years but weren't married, how come they let my grandmother, that was living with another man that wasn't married, and reared 2 girls for 7 years, and nothing was done about her? And that was in Kidston itself, under the very nose of Constable 3322. It is just outrageous. So anyway, what Constable 3322 did was get Wolf. He found out that my grandfather, Billy Owen, had gone back to Carpentaria Downs to do a big muster, and that muster would last 6 weeks.
What's a muster?
A muster is rounding up the cattle and having a count of the cattle to see how many cattle is left on the property, to see if any were rustle, you know, people used to come in and steal cattle, you know, see that the count was right and one thing and another. So he went back to do this big mustering, and he'd be away for 6 weeks. Well, Constable 3322 had to turn around and get rid of Dave, get rid of the young D.O., baby D.O. So what's he do? He goes and gets Wolf. So Wolf and him, they had to have me at a receiving depot in a place called Townsville at a certain date, because at that date they were taking other children, other babies, down to an orphanage called Nicol. So they had to have me there at a certain date. So Constable 3322 had gone and got Wolf, taken Wolf to the Mackenzies. While he was talking to Mrs. Mackenzie, Wolf goes into the house, gets me out of a cot, takes me to the car. Mrs. Mackenzie sees this, according to what my granddad told her. Mrs. Mackenzie sees what was going on. Mr. Mackenzie, like the man she was living with, he was at work, you know, so she was there on her own. And anyway, when they get me to the car, she's told Constable 3322 she's going into the police station in Kansas, going to report what happened. And anyway, Constable 3322 told her not to bother, the police already know, you know. So they did not tell her what they were doing with me. So They take me to the railway station in Cairns. They put me on a rail motor with Wolf. You know, this fella's a man. He's not a nurse. I'm only 5 months old, 5.5 months old. He's not a nurse, and he's got to accompany me all the way from Cairns to Townsville, which is over 200 mile, in a rail motor. You know, so anyway, he accompanies me to Townsville, but before I go on there, I've just got to go back a little bit, where my grandfather, before the ad went into the paper, was going to take me to Townsville, you know, to put me into an institution. But the telegrams out of the Freedom of Information documents is there where he changed his mind. He'd sent a telegram to the receiving depot to say, I have changed my mind, because he'd give me to these people to adopt. But of course, Wolf takes me to the receiving depot. Then once in the receiving depot, well then, a few days later, they put me on a train all the way down to the Devil's Playground called Nicole. And there I was to stay for the next 14 years, from January 38 till January 53, when I left there. But the Russell Crowe acting last night, and I was saying to Jody, to Daphne this morning, I was saying, you know, now if Jody gets Russell Crowe to act, and I'm there as Jodie's assistant, I'm liable to get up and say, listen Russell, that's no bloody good at all. I want you to put more emphasis into it, you know, more something real, you know. Act the tough guy if you're going to act the tough guy. If you're not going to do it, well, we'll piss you or we get somebody else. Okay, Russell? Now you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it, or get out of here. Okay.
Oh baby, you're too pure. You're too pure for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted, but does something skip inside you? That's what takes up time in your life. Add the sum of the slides, and sooner or later love comes inside you, gets behind you, takes you under its wing. Is it some kind of function, a reconstruction of where you've always been? Sense memory that's so passé, is that what passes for vision these days? I engineer no strangeness, I don't have that modern streak. What fills up the space in your life? Does the sum of the slides hurt? Sooner or later love comes inside you, gets behind you, takes you under its wing. Is it some kind of function, a reconstruction of where you've always been? I say time can hurt you, I can't be bothered to get you alone in this world. You can't do it yourself, but make your ends known to your needs and your lovers. pure for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted, but does something skip inside you? That's what takes up time in your life. Add the sum of the slides, and sooner or later love comes inside you, gets behind you, takes you under its wing. Is it some kind of function, a reconstruction of where you've always been? Sense memory that's so passé, is that what passes for vision these days? I engineer no strangeness, I don't have that modern streak. What fills up the space in your life? Does the sum of the slides hurt? Sooner or later love comes inside you, gets behind you, takes you under its wing.